Start ചെയ്യാം.
This call is now being recorded.
Audible അല്ല എല്ലാവർക്കും?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay. Okay.
Sir.
Okay. So last classes we are discussing about the forging process. Okay. So in this modules, in the last module we have discussed about the rolling process. In this module we are discussing about three types of process like forging, extrusion, and drawing process, deep drawing processes. So all these processes are metal forming processes. Okay. So we are shaping the metal into different forms. So actually we need to apply compressive forces here, right? We are applying compressive forces in order to change the shape of the material. Okay. So coming to the forging method analysis, we will see the basics and we will directly go to the equations because there are lots of derivations for these equations. I think the final equation is very important. Those derivations will not go into depth of those derivations. Okay. So coming to the forging method analysis. So whenever a metal is deformed by a metal forming process, the total work done per unit volume of the metal is given by the total work done will be equal to the ideal work plus the work which we are given to overcome the friction and the redundant work. Okay. So whatever the total work we are applying for a forging process will include these three types of works. Okay. That is the energy what we are giving. It includes these three types of energy we need to use there. Or the total work is equal to the ideal work plus the friction work plus the redundant work. So what is ideal work? It is nothing but the actual or the ideal work of deformation. So what is the work we have the part of work which is used for deforming the workpiece or deforming the object. Okay. Or the out of the total work given, what is the percentage of work which we are given to change the shape of the material? That is the ideal work. Then second is the friction work. So we know that whenever the compressive forces or what are the forces we are applying, we are in contact with the workpiece. See, usually here we will use in rolling means we are using rollers, but in forging we are using certain types of dies and tools. So there will be a friction force between the die material and the workpiece material, or the contact surface with the material will be having certain amount of friction. So while applying this type of compressive forces, what we need to overcome such frictional resistance also. So a certain part or a particular amount of the work will be utilized for overcoming this frictional force. So that is called W friction, which is the work done to overcome friction. Then another one is that is a redundant work. So what is the redundant work will come? So these are the three types of work coming on a body which are subjected to this type of compressive or which are subjected to certain type of metal forming process. The redundant work does not contribute to the changing shape of the work. That means changing shape of the workpiece. Okay. So what is redundant work? And also this redundant work is involved in the internal shearing process due to non-uniform deformation. So this redundant work is something related to non-uniform deformation. So it is involved in the internal shearing process of the workpiece. So here you can see a figure or three figures A, B, and C of a particular workpiece or a particular billet. Here the figure shows the cross section of a billet before and after deformation. Okay, you can see initially it is in a cube or a square shape. If there is a perfect lubrication at the interface of the work and die, the square grid before compression will deform into a rectangular grid after deformation. So what we are using initially, so consider the figure shown here. It is a billet. Okay, it's showing a billet. So the initial shape is that is before deformation. It is in the form of a square block or a square billet is there. So we are applying compressive force. So when we are applying compressive force, what is happening? Its height will be reduced. Its lateral dimensions will be increased. So it will be converted into a rectangular shape as seen in the figure B. So how we are applying the compressive force? Actually, we are squeezing this square material into a rectangular type of material by applying compressive force. That is called forging. Either we are giving impulsive forces or we are giving squeezing continuous forces. Whatever it be, it is forging operation. So the contact is coming between the workpiece and the die material, right? Actually, the die is coming in contact with the workpiece or this billet while squeezing. So there will be contact between the die surface as well as on the uh, this workpiece. So friction is coming into play between these two contact surfaces. So if sufficient lubrication is applied, if you are applying sufficient lubrication in order to overcome the friction, then after deformation, the shape of that square billet will be as shown in the figure B. Okay. Okay. Here the height of each segment in the grid gets shortened and its length gets increased. Okay. So such a type of deformation is called a uniform deformation. Okay. So the first from the first case, if it is converted into the second case after application of this forging process, then such a type of deformation is called a uniform deformation. Okay. So all the parts it is uniformly elongated. You can see that individual grids, individual square grids also converted into rectangle grids having the similar dimensions. That means uniformly it is deformed. That is, but we know that definitely there will be certain amount of friction coming into play between whatever the amount of lubrications, whatever the quality of lubricants we are applying, there will be certain amount of friction which will resist the applied force, right? So, in a real situation, the friction is present at the interface of the workpiece and the die. Then the grid will deform in a distorted way along with the barreling or bulging, as you can see from figure C. Okay, so in actual cases, what is happening? You know that actually the die is here, right? This is the die which is using the workpiece. So after squeezing, we can see it has gone into a rectangular shape. So there will be that much, the length will be larger. So after squeezing, it will be like this. This is the ideal condition. But in a real situation, what is happening? This will be the die. So this is the die. So what is happening while squeezing? We know that the friction force will be here, right? So this material nearby this die or which is coming into contact with the die, there will be a layer by layer frictional resistance applied to those material by the friction force. Okay. So what is as a result what we are getting? We are getting a bulged shape like this. Okay, or a barreled shape like this. So this curve you might be familiar. You might have studied in your fluid mechanics, because we know that the fluid when moving through a pipe, it will be having a semicircular shape like this, because near the boundary of the pipe the resistance will be more. The center of the pipe there will be no resistance. So the velocity of the liquid at the center will be more, and near to the pipe boundary it will be less. So we are getting a profile like a semicircular profile like this. Okay. Similarly, here also there will be bulging because the material near to the die will be having certain amount of frictional resistance. But the material at the center of this billet will be somewhat free to move than those at the uh, uh, near to the contact of the dies. So in a real case, we are getting this type of a barreled shaped object or a bulged final product, because we are considering friction there. Okay. So this bulging refers to the non-uniform flow considered on the plane of loading, while barreling refers to the non-uniform deformation along the height of the system. So in a real situation, what is happening? A non-uniform deformation is happening on the die, and that is called as barreling. Okay. So bulging refers to the non-uniform flow, and barreling is nothing but the non-uniform deformation. So this extra work done to distort the grid and to create bulging. So in order to create this distortion or this bulging or this barreling, we have to apply some extra work done should be given for that. And that is called the redundant work. As the work is not spent for useful deformation, right? It is deforming, but it is not spent for useful deformation. And such a work done is called redundant work. So there are three types of work. First one is the ideal work is there. Then the second one is the friction work is there. Then that is work done for to overcome friction. Third one is redundant work is there. The work done for this extra work done to distort the grid and to create bulging and barreling is called redundant work, as the work is not spent for useful deformation. And this type of deformation is called non-uniform deformation. Okay. So while in a forging process there are three, the total work means there are three types of work: ideal, friction, and redundant. Okay. So this is the redundant type of work. Okay. Then coming to the forging method analysis. Actually, there are different methods of analysis used to different methods used to analyze the forging process. Out of this, only one slab method we are discussing here. So that is only in your syllabus. That is slab method. But also we will not go into detail of the derivations and all. We'll go to the final equation and the graphs. Okay. So there are different methods used for the analysis, like slab method is there. Then slip line method is there. Visioplasticity method is there. Upper bound method is there. Finite difference and finite element methods are there. You might have heard about the finite element methods and all. So here only a slab method we are discussing. So in the previous slide we have seen about the work done. Similarly to work done or similar to work done, energy required for deformation process can be written as total energy will be equal to ideal energy plus friction energy plus redundant energy. Okay. So here a figure is shown here. That is we have a billet is there. Then using dice we are squeezing it. So what is actually happening? Its shape will be changed, right? So it will get elongated in the lateral direction. We are applying a pressure in this direction. We are applying a load in this direction P. Then it will be elongated laterally. Okay. So the figure shows a schematic view of a forging process on a rectangular workpiece in plane strain. So a plane strain situation is considered here. Okay. And as per your syllabus, we have only slab method to study. In that also, we have only the rectangle a plane strain condition is there. Okay. So in slab method, only plane strain condition we are discussing here. So in plane strain, there is no normal and shear strain acting along the z direction. Only the plane we are considering. We are only considering the XY plane. That is z direction means towards us, towards the screen. That is perpendicular to the plane of paper. We are not considering. Okay, slab method in plane strain condition only we are considering. So what is happening here? The slab undergoes strain along y-axis. That is along the height, and x-axis along the width direction only. Okay. That is only this thickness directions we are not considering. Now considering a billet of dimensions as in figure, that is a elemental billet we are considering now. Okay, so this is slab method for rectangular workpiece in plane strain. During forging process, consider an element strip DH as shown in the figure here. Consider an elemental strip DH of width B and height H. Okay, width B, height H ഉള്ള ഒരു elemental strip DH thickness ഉള്ള element strip consider ചെയ്തു. As the die comes closer to each other, so we are applying compressive forces. Okay, as the die comes closer to each other, there is lateral flow of work material, right? And like it is like upsetting process. There will be lateral flow of material due to the friction. So due to this friction force are set up at the contact surface which are directed towards the center line opposing metal flow. So whenever we are using this, we are applying the frictional force. Whenever we are applying the compressive force, there will be a friction force coming on the contact surfaces. Okay. So at any instant of forging, the equilibrium equation of the element in the x direction gives. So if you are solving it, this is the figure. you are solving it for at an equilibrium position, if you are solving it for along the x direction, we will get an equation like this. So we know that we are applying compressive force onto the material. So what is happening? There will be a flow like this, both sides there will be flow, and also there will be a shear flow in this direction, also shear flow in this direction, because that is the area where it is coming into contact with the die. Okay, and this is the normal directions where actually where the material is moving. So what we are considering here is it is moving along this direction to an element d sigma h. So in such a condition, we can write the equilibrium equation as sigma h plus d sigma h in the positive direction. That is the stress value. Stress multiplied by the area is the force. So we are balancing the force. So sigma h plus d sigma h into bh. bh is the area. Minus sigma h into bh. That is in the negative direction, left direction. Minus sigma h into bh plus 2 times tau h into bdh. Tau h is the top and bottom contact surface where shear is coming to play in the positive direction. So plus 2 times of tau h into bdh. So total will be equal to 0 in equilibrium position. And now dividing all the terms by bh into dh, we can write the equation as d sigma h by dh is equal plus 2 tau h by h is equal to 0. This is the force balance equation for the case. Okay, that is stress. ഇവിടെ എന്താ ചെയ്ത് സ്ട്രെസ് നമുക്കറിയാം sigma h plus d sigma h in the positive direction, sigma h in negative direction. Then two shear stress will be developed, that is in the positive direction. So all the sum will be equal to 0 in equilibrium position. Okay. So actually this stress into area will give us the force. The force balance equations we have done here. So dividing throughout by bh dh, we will simplify the equation as d sigma h by dh plus 2 tau h by h is equal to 0. And this is the equation for force balance or force balance equation for this particular case of plane strain condition. Okay. So we have that equation, that final force balance equation, and then after that we have taken 3 different conditions, because we got this equation based on the real situation. That is, whenever we are applying the load, the friction is coming into play. So based on that only we have generated that equation. Okay, so we got a particular equation based on that condition. So this shear stress produced and the movement of the grain flow all will depend on the amount of friction between the die material and the workpiece material, right? So in forging process there can be 3 different conditions based on the status of friction between work and die. So based on these 3 different conditions, this forging force or this forging pressure will be different. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to find out the pressure required for the forging for these 3 different conditions. Also we will find out the average pressure also. So the conditions are like this. First one is sliding friction. Sliding friction is also called as slipping friction. So in exams you might get the question directly like this. For this condition, for slipping friction, what is the forging pressure requirement, or a problem you may get, that is the condition is sliding friction or slipping friction. What is slipping friction or sliding friction? Slipping or sliding means it is something, it is moving, it can move or it can slip. That is the word meaning. So sliding friction means it is with a low coefficient of friction. That is the coefficient of friction between the 2 contact surfaces is very low. That's why it is called the sliding. Means it can slide or it can slip. Sliding friction or slipping friction. Second case is sticking friction. Sticking friction when the coefficient of friction is high. When the coefficient of friction is very high, it will be very difficult to move, right? We have to apply more force or more energy should be utilized for the movement to overcome the friction force. That is why it is called sticking friction, because it is like stick there. That is the die and the die surface and the billet surface is stick together. So it behaves like that. So that's why it is called sticking friction. Third condition is sliding and sticking friction when the coefficient of friction varies along the contact surface. Okay, if the coefficient of friction mu it is varying along the contact surfaces, it is not constant. If it is not constant, then that condition means it will be both like sliding and sticking, or like slipping and sticking. So that is the third condition, sliding and sticking friction. So for these three conditions, we are going to derive the forging pressure or the average pressure equation. So case one, that is sliding friction or slipping friction with a low coefficient of friction. Okay, so there are a lot of assumptions made. There are a lot of simplifications made in this. So that also are directly the basic MOS, mechanics of solid calculation. So you can refer the text if you want the details of this derivation. So what here I have given here, I have given here is only the final equation. So consider sigma h and sigma y are principal stresses and sigma naught is the yield stress. Okay. So in this equation, sigma h and sigma y are principal stresses and sigma naught is the yield stress. And also sigma naught dash is the flow stress. So we will get the forging pressure equation as forging pressure P is equal to sigma naught dash into e raised to 2 mu into L minus h by h, where mu is the coefficient of friction between the billet and the die. That means workpiece and the die. H is the height of the workpiece, L is the length of the workpiece, and sigma dash or sigma naught dash is the flow stress. So this is the final equation. You can by heart this equation. That is, this equation is for the forging pressure for sliding friction or slipping friction. Okay. So this is the forging pressure required for sliding friction condition or slipping friction condition. You can see from the equation there is an L in the numerator and H in the denominator. Okay, some L minus length value is in the numerator and H value in the denominator. So as this L by H value increases, forging pressure increases. Okay, because E raised to value increases, the forging pressure increases. This means resistance to compressive deformation increases. So that means the forging pressure increases means resistance to compressive deformation is more. And the variation of the forging pressure and the sigma h value can be represented in that is the pressure distribution can be represented by a graph, and the pressure distribution curve is called friction hill. So note that point, it is called friction hill. So you may also get a question regarding friction hill. And area under the friction hill represents the work done during forging. So for this particular sliding or slipping condition, the pressure distribution curve is called the friction hill, and the curve is shown here. So the area under the friction hill represents the work done during the forging process. So that length is given here. That length can vary from h is equal to 0 to h is equal to L. Okay. So here for an elemental or a particular instantaneous position, the instantaneous value of the pressure we have considered. For from 0 to L, we will get the average pressure value. So average forging pressure will be equal to P average is equal to 1 by L from 0 to L into the integral 0 to L PdS. 1 by L into integral 0 to L PdS. So we will get the average pressure as sigma naught by L into h by 2 mu into e raised to 2 mu L by h the whole minus 1. So this is the equation for average pressure. That is average forging pressure. So by heart this equation also, so we got two equations, that is for forging pressure equation and the average forging pressure equation for the first condition, that is sliding friction or slipping friction condition. Similarly, for the second condition also, that is case 2 also, that is sticking friction when the coefficient of friction is high. That is, when if the coefficient of friction is high, we will get a similar equation for the forging pressure as well as for the average forging pressure. That is P is equal to sigma naught into 1 plus L minus h by h in the case is the equation for the forging pressure, and P average is equal to 2 sigma naught dash into 1 plus L by 2h for the case of average pressure. This is for the case 2 sticking friction case. Here also we will get a friction hill curve as a similar curve as seen in the, as you can see from the slide. And the third case is compression with the sliding or slipping and sticking friction, that both combined because the coefficient of friction varies along the contact surface. In that case also we will get an equation for both the this forging pressure as well as for average pressure. So equation also you can see here sigma naught dash into e raised to 2 mu into L minus hs by h, and also P average is equal to sigma naught by 2L into hs square by h plus hs by mu plus h by mu into e raised to 2 mu into L minus hs by h minus 1. So you just try to by heart this equation. You may get a direct question in order to write all these equations, or you may get a problem from any of these equations. So try to by heart these equations. So this is the friction Hill curve for the plot for the third condition, that is both sliding as well as sticking. So next one is forging pressure. Forging force. Next one is the equation for forging force. Also, this equation is also very, very important. Definitely there will be one problem from this using this equation. The forging force required in open die forging operation on cylindrical workpiece of a metal can be determined using the following formula. So here we are considering a cylindrical workpiece. So in the case of a cylindrical workpiece, what is the forging pressure requirement during forging process or during an open die forging process operation? So F is equal to sigma F into pi into r square into 1 plus 2 mu r by 3h. So this is the equation for forging force. Sigma F is the flow stress of the material, that is, which is the stress required to continue plastic deformation of the workpiece at a particular true strain. So that flow stress we have already discussed in the previous module. And mu is the coefficient of friction, r is the radius, and h is the height of the workpiece. So if we know all these parameters, we can directly substitute in the equation for forging force. Okay, so this is for here we have considered a cylindrical workpiece. That's why we will get an R value in the equation. Okay, so previously for slab method only we are considering that 3 cases of the friction. There we have considered a rectangular slab with the plane strain condition. Okay, there we have analyzed the different pressure, that is average as well as the normal pressures. Next thing is the deformations or mechanics of deformation. So in forging, material is deformed plastically to generate the shape of the desired product. So as we know that whenever we are doing a metal forming process, there will be metal flow within the material, right? So only after the different, because after the flow only we will get the different shape of the object. So metal flow is influenced mainly by tool geometry, friction condition, characteristics of the stock material, and thermal condition assisting in the deformation form. So we know that the metal flow is influenced by these 4 parameters. This tool geometry, it will be influenced by the tool geometry, by the friction condition, the characteristics of the stock material, and the thermal condition assisting in the deformation form. So the details of metal flow influence the quality and the properties. The details of metal flow influence the quality and the properties of the formed product and the force and energy requirement of the process. The mechanics of deformation, that is the metal flow, strains, strain rates, and stresses can be investigated by using one of the approximate method of analysis. That is either finite element analysis, finite difference, or slab or upper bound, etc. Okay, so there will be a flow of metal happening in during this process, forging process also. So this that flow is mainly influenced by the tool geometry, friction condition, and the other factors mentioned here. Next one is a roll forging or cross rolling. This topic we have already discussed during our rolling process. So why I am discussing it again is that one more topic is there, that is skew rolling. So skew rolling is a ball bearing making process. So before that, what is roll forging? So roll forging is a specialized rolling process. So both this rolling and forging, see, both this rolling and forging, both are what we are doing. Both those processes are metal forming process, so metal shaping process. That is, we are changing the shape of the material. In the case of rolling, we are using certain rollers to do that. In the case of forging, we are using certain special shaped dies for that. Okay. So in forging, we are directly compressing it. In the case of rolling, we are using rotating wheels or rollers to compress that. Okay. So that's why it is called cross rolling or roll forging. So in roll forging, it is a specialized rolling process in which a pair rolls with shaped grooves is used for shaping the cross section of circular bars as shown in the figure. So also called as cross rolling, and production of tapered shaft, leaf spring, table knives, hand tools. These are the different applications. So skew rolling is another type of rolling. So it can be also considered in a forging process also, because it is a metal forming process. So a similar process to roll forging is called skew rolling. It is typically used for making ball bearings. Round wire or rod is fed into the rod gap, and spherical blanks are formed continuously by action of rotating rods, as you can see from the figure A. Another method is also used for the production of the ball bearings, that as you can see from figure B, which is basically a forging operation. Okay, there will be a blank. So after using compressive force by using dies, we will get a final ball. These balls which require further finishing are subsequently ground and polished in special machinery. Okay, so just in order to discuss this topic, skew rolling, which is coming in the syllabus, we have discussed about the roll forging also. So skew rolling is a rolling process, but it is a ball bearing making process. There are two types of process here. One is a skew rolling, what you can see from the first figure by using rollers. Second is a directly forging process, which is used to making ball bearing. And this process is called skew rolling. Next one is defect in forging. So, what we have discussed in rolling and welding and other processes, there are also defects in forging process also. These are some of the defects. One is cold shut. That is, when the corner and the fillet radii are small, metal does not flow properly into the corner and the cold shut results. These appears as small cracks at the corner of the forging. For example, if you are making a rectangular uh, final product, so we will use specialized dies for that. Okay. So after that we will apply this die on the billet, and we will skew the material to flow into all the nook and corners of this die. So what is happening, if the flow of the metal does not flow properly into the corners, this type of defect will happen. So what is the corner, there will be a missing. So such a defect is called cold shut. Then unfilled sections. Due to insufficient metal or insufficient heating of the metal die cavity, due to insufficient metal or insufficient heating of the metal, die cavity may not be filled completely, and this defect occurs. Okay, because of the insufficient volume of the metal present in the die cavity, it may not be filled in all the areas, or all the volumes. That is called unfilled section. Cold shut is another type, that is, even though there is a sufficient amount of material, it may not flow into the minute corners and all. That is called cold shut. Then flakes are formed due to improper cooling of large forgings. These are internal ruptures. Internal ruptures can happen within the material. That defect is called flakes. Then scale pits will happen. These irregular depressions on the surface of the forging are caused due to improper cleaning of the workpiece used for forging. So if the billets or the workpieces used for the forging are not well cleaned or not prepared well, then this type of scale pits may happen on the surface of the material. Then internal cracks can occur. That is, these are resulted from too drastic change in the shape of the work material at a faster rate. Okay, so internal, this type of cracks can happen. Then die shift. So misalignment of the two half of the die causes die shift. Due to this defect, two half of the forging to be of improper shape. Okay, so die should be properly aligned. There will be a pair of dies, right? The top and bottom die will be there. If the dies are not properly aligned, the final product, it will affect the shape of the final product also. Such a defect is called die shift. Then one more is the surface cracks. That is due to the die wall chilling and increasing the resistance to metal flow near surface may result. This leads to surface cracks. Okay. At the contact surface of the workpiece and the die, if the die temperature is reduced, the surface region will be cooling faster. So during the metal flow, it will lead to a surface cracks on the surface of this billet or this workpieces, and that is called as surface cracks. That is another type of defect. So these are some of the defects in forging processes.